meet at the end of the building, get their food, and then they had to meet on the roll call square, which is the big square outside where we stood before, including the area where the memorial is today, which was not there back then. And that's where the prisoners had to line up to be counted. Can you imagine how long it takes to count 30 or 40,000 people? No matter whether it rained or snowed, whether it was warm or cold, they had to stand there and wait. And that's how roll call was. And roll call was not only used to count the prisoners, roll call was also used to make sure that no one had managed to escape. And the ones who were too weak, too skinny to stand here, the ones who fainted, who collapsed during roll call, were now sorted out. And being sorted out means that you end up on a vehicle after roll call, which takes you to the nearest concentration camp, the gas chamber, where you are gassed. Using gas was 70% cheaper than using bullets or ammunition for the same amount of people. And of course, when it comes to decisions like that, they of course chose the cheapest version of mass murder, and that was in this case gas. So when you see in movies that hundreds of prisoners are shot all the time, then you can be pretty sure that this is not. The survivors here in Dachau told us, I talked only about the camp, not about what was going on behind the front. That's a totally different situation. In the camp, the survivors told us that here in Dachau, for example, they could not hear the noise of shootings or executions for years. Because when they shot prisoners, and I did mention the shooting wall earlier, right? So there was a shooting wall where approximately 1,400 prisoners were executed here in Dachau. But when they shot the prisoners, they did that, for example, in the early morning hours when most of the people in the city of Dachau were still asleep, or when it was like weather like today, thunderstorm was coming closer, the noise of the weather could then hide what was going on here, or in November, December, February, when it's really foggy, when the mist, the fog swallows the noise. That's when prisoners were executed, but not like in the movies all the time like this. Guards were much smarter than the guards we are always shown in the movies, because they were not interested in providing evidence. They did not want to be known as the one who shot prisoner so-and-so, because that is evidence that could have been used against them sooner or later. So guards were, of course, also interested in getting rid of prisoners, but they did that in a much smarter way. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. Where they had to work. At night they were brought back again, and when they were lucky they had 45 hours of sleep every night. In the daily routine like this, you of course can't make it very hard, especially not with 250 kilograms in your stomach. So the prisoners dropped 30, 40, 50 kilograms of weight, and those who were still alive on liberation day were liberated with an average weight of 33 kilograms. That's around 70 US pounds, and that's how they look like. And when you look like this, you cannot survive, but you can easily share a bed with the second, third, or fourth person. And in order to save space, the prisoners now slept like bottles in a box, top to toe, on the side, on the shoulders, and they turned over at night at the same time because this was the only chance for them to move. And I guess now you are already able to tell the difference between the first camp, the early years, and the new camp, because that is a totally different situation. So here in Dachau, labor, starvation, and diseases killed the prisoners. In Auschwitz, in the extermination camps, they used gas. But you died in one way or the other. Do you know how many camps existed in total back then? May I ask you to guess? It's always interesting to hear what international guests think.
At least 100, like maybe.
100?
Yeah, like 120. That's what I'm guessing.
Two offers more.
250.
We're actually missing a digit here, a zero. 3,700 camps. Yeah. Don't do the mistake and think that all those camps existed only in Germany. You know that World War II was everywhere, all Europe. Do you know that the Germans tried to fight the British and the French in North Africa, in Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt? So wherever the Germans were, they needed camps for their prisoners of war, and camps means that. So they used the prisoners of war as slave workers, and that is the reason why they had in the very early years camps as well in Africa. Do you know that Italy used to have a dictator who was a very, very close friend with Hitler for many years, Mussolini, and after a couple of years the Italian people decided to sentence Mussolini to death, and then Italy turned against Nazi Germany. So all the Greek islands, and we're talking about hundreds of islands, that had first been occupied by the Italian army were now occupied by the Germans. So they needed camps on the Greek islands for the Italian prisoners of war and for all the brave Greek guerrilla fighters. The largest of the Greek islands is called Crete. And on Crete, which is closer to Egypt, closer to Africa than to Nazi Germany, they operated 17 camps. The largest Jewish community of the Mediterranean Sea was located on Rhodes, the second largest of the Greek islands. On Rhodes, there were 32,000 Jews before 1945. Afterwards, not a single one was left. Not even one. So this was like a spider web across Hitler's Europe. And it's very important that you understand that, because not all those 3,700 camps existed only here in Germany and only in those 12 years. Some of them existed for 2-3 months, and others like Dachau for over 12 years. Some of the camps were 20 times larger, bigger than Dachau. Others only had 10 or 20 prisoners. So it really depends on the camp you talk about. Some of them were located in mountains where the prisoners had to dig tunnels through the mountains, or in quarries, and others were on mountains because they had to build a mountain building somewhere. So it really depends on the camp, but in total, added together, there were 3,700 camps, all across Hitler's Europe. That includes areas that are thousands of kilometers away from here, in the Ukraine, in Hungary, in the north, in the west, and in the south. I think we have adopted quite a lot of business to listen